Okay, there we go. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. All right, I think this thing might actually be working. Hello, welcome. We're in the pre-show here. You can tell because it says pre-show right there. All right, I think we have all the pieces clicking today. Not sure. If you're joining us, you're thinking, oh, I missed the show. No, the show doesn't start for another 9 minutes. 8 minutes and 20 seconds to be fairly precise. But sure glad you're here. Enjoyed my week off last week, as you can see from the graphic that illustrated this show, that I've been busy. It wasn't just idle chit-chat. But I'll tell you more about that as we get into the show or the main part of the show, however you want to put it. Some interesting things as I was setting up today. All of a sudden, my boom mic over in the studio is not working, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, what have I done? Have I turned the gain down too low? Have I done? You're always jumping for the most complicated problem or solution. Well, actually, turning the gain up was pretty easy, so that really doesn't count. But hiss or static? Hiss or static. Sounds like gain, noise, or wireless interface. Audio is not clean. Well, let's listen to it. Yeah, like I was just saying, playing with audio. Check 1 2. Check, 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 check. Okay, I'm not hearing the stream. I'm just hearing what's in the mixer. So let's turn off this little laptop here. Maybe that'll help some. Sound like some gain noise. Yeah, how about that? I had pumped the gain up to fix a problem, and I think I may have not fixed it. Let's see. And I think what's the latency today is probably, maybe 30 seconds. I haven't tested it. I probably should have. But I can look. Let's see. We can see. And we probably need to mute that guy. Mute. It's on here somewhere. Come on, there it is. There we go. Good now, says Rich. Thank you very much. Good evening, Rudy. Good evening. Who is that? Amanula? Very good. Thank you, Brandon, for the heads up on that. Yeah, I was testing out something yesterday and couldn't get sufficient volume out of it. And so I had pumped the gain up all the way. And it was supposed to be, it was a condenser mic, so, traditionally that would be phantom powered, but it had a battery in it, so I was turning the phantom power off to test it. Sounds like I'm on a gate, because you only hear me when I speak. Well, that would be the desired result. Let's see if we've got some sort of audio thing going on here. You never know. I test things from time to time. All right, we've got we do have a plug-in. Let's see what that plug-in is doing. It's set for 30%. Let's turn it down to 20 because it's taking out a little bit of room hiss, but I know what you say. It kind of has this is the Waves audio. This is the NS1 noise suppressor. And so it's kind of a gate, but it also takes out certain frequencies. So that might be better. Only hear static when you speak. So yeah, it's operating as a gate, probably as a gate. So let's cut it down a little bit. And the static you may hear is probably more Yeah, the gate's not on in vMix. The static you hear is probably just the background noise here. It's afternoon in Brazil. All right. Well, it's afternoon here in Alabama. And Spiny Norman. Obviously, that concept did not come from the marketing department. Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. Just teasing, Dan. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. Ed H is here. Welcome, Ed H. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Everybody just sort of rolling in when you can. I understand. I take a week off, and everybody decides they can do the same thing. Oh, golly, excuse me. So, yeah. Spiny says, Tom, I just learned something about those Wave plugins. Well, do share. Spiny Norman, or SN for short, or Dan for really short. Tell me what you learned. Please, 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 please. Let's see, what else have we got going, cooking? You know, it's kind of crazy. It's crazy because sometimes it's crazy and then sometimes it's quiet. And today just happens to be a quiet day. Tomorrow's going to be a crazy day. Actually, I'm on the road tomorrow, but I've got a lot of work to do while I travel. So I may be riding while somebody else is driving. Spiny Norman says they use the network card to ID the computer. If you change it, your licenses become invalid. Huh. That's good to know. Good to know. I'm trying to think. I think I have, yeah, I guess it's just this one PC that I use it on. Excuse me. Whoa. All of a sudden when I start talking to you guys, I start yawning. Go figure. Go figure. Well, that's a good point to know. Dan, thank you for changing. And I'm sure you guys figured that out because you changed an ID. I am changing the network ID on this one all the time, but I generally change it back. So there we go. Don't know about IBC. Gotcha. I was just chatting with Tess Protesto at PTC Optics this morning on Facebook, and she is not at Infocom this week, which started today, but she is going to be, Rudy, you'll be interested to know this, that Tess will be in Amsterdam for IBC. So if you're a Tess fan, you probably want to make an opportunity to get over to IBC for part of that. Rudy's going to be there. I think Rudy, are you representing vMix again this year? That was a good deal. Boy, I wish I could go. That would be a ton of fun. Dan wished he knew about the ID change before wasting a couple hours troubleshooting. You know, that's the price of our education. That is how we get our education, by the time that we spend. That's brighter than that. Hello, Jan. Dan, Michael's saying many developers lock their code to the network MAC address. Interesting. Yes, Tom, I'm still yawning. I bore myself. Terry's got a crazy question. I have a client that wants to live stream funeral viewings. Okay, for certain ethnic groups. Well, if you want to do the viewing, obviously that's different than doing a ceremony. I mean, if you actually want to do the in the casket shot, you could certainly do that. A simple setup would be a laptop, probably a Magewell or a Uon connection, a camera. Maybe use the audio out of the camera. That would be pretty simple. It's not like you're going to have a commentary over it, so you don't need a microphone necessarily. So I think that's pretty doable. And the trick is to make it unobtrusive to the folks that are there in person. And if you're showing more than just the casket, the people need to be aware that there's a live stream going on, I think. Marie says, but at least it isn't a weekend that's already booked. Well, it's actually, I think it's a whole week. I think it's like 5 or 6 days, isn't it? Yep. And Dan says that that he and Maggie will be there for X Keys. There you go. So the X Keys folks will be at IBC. The PTZ Optics folks will be at IBC. Rudy will be there with vMix. Oh, he says, no, he'll just be visiting that time. Oh, okay. He'll be representing the M&M fan club. That's great. That would be M&M would be Miranda and Maggie. Okay, got it. Chris is here from New Zealand. Gotcha. Jan says, many developers started to change the code using MAC address because more and more systems start to use random MAC. Ah, interesting. Thank you. Okay, we've rolled over into showtime. We got to get this show on the road. So, then let's do it. Do we have a camera? It's kind of late to be asking that question, but isn't it? Do we have a camera? Is number 7 that? No, but let's make number 7 that real quickly. Edit, transition, add, find, 27, function is a cut, and input is number 7. Okay, there we go. All right, so that'll give you that shot. That I'll go to in just a second. There we go. Oh, Michael says IBC is Friday to Tuesday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That would be 5 days. Well, I guess it is a weekend. Yeah, they've shifted whatchamajigger, the NAB show, to Sunday through Wednesday now. Streaming is obviously you need to work. That's right. And then the weekend is best days. Well, there you go. So it is a weekend. Anderson's here. Just got in. The net is a pain. The place where the sun never shines. Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, y'all sit tight. I will be back around over there in just a second. We'll go to that shot so you can see what a mess the studio is today. It's horrendous. And we need some lemonade, and we need our show notes and a pen. And y'all get to see my white legs as we do this. Amnon's here. All right. Here we go. Okay. That. Microphone and main shot. There we go. Good. All right. I think we're about ready for a show. If y'all will join me. I was going to go put some makeup on this hot spot, but just don't pay any attention to it. You need a couch and a coffee table. Tommy, if I had a couch, I'd take a note. Dave says, you have show notes? What? Well, yeah. You know, sometimes I look at them, sometimes I don't. All right. Let's see if we can't make this show work. Let's rearrange just a little bit. Has anybody seen, before we get started, has anybody seen the new i5 9400F? It is a 6-core i5 and really good. I think it's less than $200. It does require a graphics card because it doesn't have graphics built in, but who cares? You're going to put a graphics card with it anyway. And I think it's like sub $200. So if you're building a system, you want to take a look at that one. It should be good up to 3 or 4 HD inputs. All right. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? It might just work. Well, how about that? Welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, and this is Streaming Idiots. I am delighted to be here with you. We took the week off last week to do some traveling, actually traveling on business, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. Had a very interesting install in Florida on Friday of last week at Golf World, which was a really neat place, and we'll tell you a little bit about that too as we get into the broadcast. The one thing though that it's kind of funny when you step away from something for a little while, you know, your thoughts tend to get a little clearer, or at least mine do, because in the confusion and the dust and the whirlwind of everything that goes on around here, sometimes it's not that easy to get clarity. But in this case, it really was to get away and to read a little bit of what was going on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and places like that, try to keep up a little bit with what was going on, but also to pause and reflect. And one of the things that I reflected on, and this is really intended for probably those of you that are just getting started in live stream, or probably, you know, are in your first year or so. And the question I get asked all the time is, where should I send my stream? I know what I want to stream. I know that I've got a hand on the content. I've got a handle on the content, but where do I want to send my stream? And so let's take a minute and talk about that, and then I'll show you some of the cool pictures from the Golf World install. Depending on what your show is, if it's a talk show, or if it's a sports broadcast, or if it's a church service, or maybe it's an event of some kind, you know, all of those places or all of those communities, let's put it that way. A church is a built-in community. A lot of times a sporting event will have teams people that follow those teams. So those are some communities. If you have an event that's a reoccurring event, that probably has a community. If you're starting something new, like a new church or a new talk show, something like that, then you're going to have to build your own community. But for the most part, I think the answer to where to stream is going to be stream to your community. Wherever your people are, wherever your peeps are, stream to them. If you have a loyal following of people that visit your website on a regular basis because you're putting things there for them to get, maybe there's a blog and you're posting regularly on your blog, or there's some content there that people would return to your website frequently for, then the website's going to be a great place to send your stream. And most every streaming destination has the ability to take that stream, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or a white label third party, and embed that in a website. Even if it's a WordPress website or other types of websites. Right now I'm working on a website, or I'm not working on the website, but I'm working with the local school board. The websites that each school has, those websites are pretty locked down. I don't know what tools they're using yet, but I know for right now we can't embed a video on those websites. So, and that's where a lot of that constituency, that community goes, is to the school website. So we're trying to unlock that door and get in and be able to embed there. But find your community. wherever your community already is, I think you want to build on that foundation that's already established. Tommy says nobody visits his website. Well, that maybe because there's nothing there that's interesting, or it was the same thing there this morning that was there yesterday morning that was there last week. If you go to my website right now, easternshorebroadcasting.com, you're going to see a big notice that says this website's under construction, i.e. there's nothing there. Well, that's not strictly true. There's nothing there on the first page, but the regular content of our store and our archives and tips and tricks, all those types of things are still evident. We're just struggling with the front page. So if you know of a good website designer that can get in my brain and tell me what I want, I'd love to hear it. Anyway, yeah, the website is generally what people talk about first, but my guess really is if you're a business or an individual, a professional, a consultant, a preacher, somebody that has an opinion, probably you have a greater community on a place that's not already your website. And I'm thinking specifically of the great community builder in social media, and that's Facebook. Facebook is beautiful for building communities. Now, does Facebook have some security issues? Yes. Anybody on the internet is going to have security issues. Is Facebook struggling a little bit politically? Yeah, here in the U.S., there's accusations that Facebook plays favorites. But once you kind of get by that and say, okay, well, we're going to ignore all that roar for just a minute and talk about me. Enough talking about you. Let's talk about me. What I need to be able to gather my community together and be able to stream to my community. And so Facebook, I think, is your best bet for that. If you're a church, I think it's a great bet. If you're a school, it's a great bet. If you're a sports team, it's a great bet because you probably already have a Facebook page or a Facebook group that you can stream to. Now, with software like vMix, which is what we use, and actually we represent vMix, we're a vMix reseller. And by the way, you can buy vMix from us for the same price. You can buy it from vmix.com, plus you get me with it for personal tech support. And we call it lifetime, as long as you live or as long as I live, whichever ends first. The idea is that with vMix, you can actually stream to multiple locations simultaneously. So for today, we're actually streaming to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting Facebook page, to the Streaming Idiots Facebook group, and to our Eastern Shore Broadcasting YouTube channel, I guess is what it's called. YouTube is getting 1080p at 4.5 megabits per second. The other two Facebook groups are getting 1.5 megabits per second, streaming 720p, all of that 30 frames a second. So if you want to watch the best quality, you can either go directly to YouTube or you can go to easternshorebroadcasting.com down there and click the Watch Live tab, because we've embedded the YouTube feed, since it's the highest quality feed. We've embedded the YouTube feed on our website, and we've also figured out how to embed the YouTube chat as a part of that too, and you can pop out both of those and move them around however you want to. You can do the same thing with Facebook. We just haven't figured out how to pop out the chat. It's kind of all together with one. But the idea is you go where your community is, and if you want to build a new community, try to piggyback on an existing community. For example, if you are a school, well, that's not a good example. Let's say you're a church. Let's say you're a small church. Let's say you're a church start and you don't have a big community. Perhaps there is a mother church somewhere that birthed you, or a friendly church or a denominational covering of some kind that is maybe not responsible for you but has an attachment somehow to you. See if they won't let you use their Facebook account so that you can garner up some of their eyeballs. Now, you're not trying to steal their sheep. I want to be real clear about that. But it is nice to have a lot of people watch your stream and for them to be able to share your message with other folks. The whole concept of growing that group is you ask people to help you grow the group. This Streaming Idiots group has been grown because, number one, because I think it's a really interesting group, and there's virtually a conversation going on virtually 24 hours a day with the folks that we've got in the United States and in Europe and in Australia and in Asia. There's always somebody that's awake and chatting about something to do with live streaming. The idea that a group is going to grow, I think the growth of a group starts in two phases, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I've opened up the subject, so let me go there for a second. There's the initial growth phase where the people in the group are sharing the group with other people. And so you kind of have that first person, that is, I'm already a group member and I'm sharing it with somebody that I think will be interested in it. And then what happens is, we'll turn that sideways so you can say, so I've got a group member, I'm sharing it with somebody that's interested, and then they're sharing it with somebody they think might be interested, and they're sharing it, so that they get layers to the circle as it goes further and further out. And that's how the group grows. And of course, it helps if the group has got some good content, got some good discussion, things like that make it worthwhile for people to come back to it. So if you're just starting out and you want to grow your group, encourage the people that are already in your group or like your page to share it with other people. And you can do that in a one-to-one, i.e., sending a message to them. If there are only 12 people in your group, that's easy to do. Or you can make a post, or you can appeal to people in your video. For example, frequently in the Streaming Idiots video, that is this live stream right now, we will invite people to come join our Streaming Idiots Facebook group. And you just go to Facebook and do a search for Streaming Idiots, and there we are. And so you can join. We do have a little bit of a barrier to entry. That is, you have to tell us, obviously you have to tell us who you are, because that's what Facebook says. But you also have to tell us if you're currently live streaming, or are you a newbie, or do you want to stream at some point in the future? What are you streaming? Are you streaming churches or sports? Or are you using Wirecast or vMix or OBS? We want to know that because we want to have a feel for what people are doing as they come into the group. And then the last thing we want is we want your email address. Now, there are two reasons why we want it. One is we want to add you to our mailing list. But the second is we want to have a way of kind of holding you accountable a little bit, because somebody that won't give us their email address, in my mind, wants to remain somewhat anonymous. And the whole idea of a group is that you're sharing, maybe not personal secrets, but you're sharing things in your life with other people. And we don't want that to be, we don't want anonymous people coming in and taking advantage of that. Some people have come in and spammed the group with videos. And again, sorry, I got down that rabbit trail. Let's go back to the center part, which is the streaming destinations. I really do think Facebook can be the center point that you can start with. Now you say, Tom, you stream to YouTube. Yes, I do stream to YouTube, because YouTube, last time I checked, was the number 2 search engine in the world. That is, people would go to YouTube to search for things. And since we do video, and since Eastern Shore Broadcasting is all about video, we represent people in the live streaming and the video industry, then we want to be where people go to find that. So if you go to YouTube and you do a search for Streaming Idiots, you're going to hit this show. If you do a search for vMix, you'll hit this show. If you do a search for live streaming, you might. That's a pretty broad topic, so you may not hit us immediately, but at some point in your search, whether it's for vMix or Magewell or Uon or PTZ Optics or X Keys or sorry if I've left somebody out, I'm sure I have. We're Eastern Shore Broadcasting, Streaming Idiots is going to pop up at some point because we've kind of placed ourselves there. Now, that's not live video. It was live video, but now it's archived video. So we've got the benefit with YouTube of being able to embed this high-quality 1080p stream in our website that's live, and then we have the ability to have YouTube be our long-term archive. Now, at our church, we have very low bandwidth at the church. It's like 900K on a good day. So we're using the 60% rule, and so we're streaming, less than 60% of that. So it ends up being about a 360 feed at about 400 or 500K. And that's not really good quality for YouTube. So we don't stream to YouTube. We stream to Facebook. Most people I don't have one here, but most people are watching Facebook on their phone. I do. Most of my Facebook views are coming on the phone. But we're also taking that 1080p video that we're recording at the church and uploading that to YouTube. So we've got a high quality archive for folks to find as they're looking for a church in Fairhope, Alabama, looking for an Anglican church. That's what we are. They'll find us in YouTube. Even if they're doing a Google search, Google will include YouTube results. And so it ends up being a good kind of 1-2 punch between Facebook and YouTube. Now, 2.5 weeks ago now, I guess, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, basically anybody that was a level 3, was it level 3? Was that I think that's the name of the outfit, level 3, that is a backbone, an internet backbone. It went down. So nothing worked. YouTube was down, Facebook was down, Twitter was down, Instagram was down. All of your favorite haunts for live streaming they just weren't working. Or if they did work, they were working intermittently, or there were features missing. And within a couple hours, that fixed itself. But that is the internet world. I'm currently in a situation with Facebook where I can't stream this show. I can't schedule a stream for this show the way I'd like to. For some reason, both my page and my group are broken. So that when I go in to set those up, it basically says, and it has for weeks and weeks, an error has occurred. Well, if I got an error occurring, I can't stream it. Today, we kind of worked around that, and we're able to get the live stream going in Facebook, but we weren't able to schedule it in advance the way we normally would like to. So if you're using free stuff, Facebook, YouTube, you are subject to their whims. And to go back to the political thing again, if you've got a political talk show, or if you've got a show that has strong political beliefs, you may end up getting flagged by another viewer somewhere who thinks your content is offensive. And Facebook, YouTube, they don't want to offend, or if they do want to offend, they only want to offend. They don't want to offend some groups. They may take you down, and you have no control over that. I've protested some of those. We've gotten some copyright strikes at the church in the past, and I've protested those, and basically saying, hey, these people don't have the right to put a strike on us. That's all I said. Didn't have any licensing information or anything like that. I just simply said, these people that have put the strike on us, they don't have the right to do it. And Facebook has pulled it back. No, YouTube. It was YouTube. So there are some possibilities there, but you never know. If you really, really, really want to be safe, I think you go to a third party. You go to a white label, somebody like StreamMonkey or Decast or somebody like that that's a paid service. Yes, you're going to pay anywhere from $25 to $100 a month. But what is the value of your stream? What is the value of your feed? If it doesn't happen, what's going to be the downside? If it's a sporting event, you can't repeat the sporting event. If it's a wedding, you can't repeat the wedding. So if you have unique content that can't be repeated, it's a one-shot deal, then you're probably better off having a paid account or using both. That's my diatribe on that. But I did want to get that in. Yeah. And I had some graphics to go with it. So I said, what was it? We like Facebook. Yay, Facebook. Yay, Facebook. Okay. I did the graphics, so I got to bring them in. We like YouTube. Yay, we like YouTube. We like Twitter too. We don't always live stream to Twitter, but I think Twitter can be a very effective platform. People ask all the time about Instagram, and you can see you can't do Instagram from a conventional PC or Mac, conventional streaming source. You can only do an Instagram from your phone, at least according to the Instagram terms of service. Now, some people have figured out how to hack around that. and how to steal some stream keys and things like that from their phone and port them over. But at this point, Instagram hasn't officially opened that up to the general public. So let's see, where's our Instagram? There we go. Got rid of Instagram. All right, so let's talk about the dolphin tank. I had the opportunity to go to. Let me get my photos up here. Let's see if we can do. Oh, you know what? I think I've got a playlist set up, but I don't have a way to put the playlist up on the screen. Sit tight 1 second. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Gee whiz. I'll let you have that shot in the meantime. Hold on. Yeah, this is a real professional show, isn't it? Real professional show. Okay, let's find out. We just need a shortcut. Shortcut to cut. So let's see if that button right there is available. Number 53, yeah, that'll work. So number 53 is going to be a transition. It'll be a cut, and it will cut to a list. There we go. All right, so let's see if we got that right. Shortcuts are wonderful, but they don't happen if you don't use them. So let's see. All right, now we're back on the right mic. There we go. So let's see if we can get some photos in of what we did last week. There we go. So there we are at Golf World. That's not me, but that is a gentleman from Crow Signs, who is putting mounting the camera on top of this giant video board. And I'll show you a clip on the camera here in just a second. The idea was that they wanted to look across the pond. There's the pond, the dolphin tank. Look across the tank, be able to see down into the tank to see the dolphins and the trainers with the dolphins, and then look across the tank to where the fans were, and then be able to display all of that on the video board. So that's why the camera was installed. You can see kind of a side shot of it there. Yeah, there it is, a little bit closer. And you can see it's in a waterproof housing. That waterproof housing, well, let's see. I think I can show that to you right here. We've got a little video. Nope, that's not the video. Maybe this is the video. Just to this cable, and now we're going to plug it in to the PoE injector pass through. Let's see if we can do that with one hand. We're going to hold it. Let's see. It's alive. Hear those fans going? Oh, that's sweet. Now let's see if it'll power the camera. We have lights. We have the PTZ Optics Happy Dance. Woo, look at this. This is cool. This is going to be installed tomorrow on Friday at Golf World in Panama City Beach at the Dolphin Tank. We'll bring you a report from there. Have a good evening. One of the things that I liked best about that enclosure, of course, was that it was PoE, and it was not PoE, it was PoE for the camera and also for the fans. And it came with the PoE injector, and of course the fans were all wired up as for PoE, and the camera was wired up for PoE. Probably the most difficult part of it was actually doing the physical installation of the camera inside the enclosure, because as you can imagine, an enclosure like that is designed to work with, dozens or even hundreds of different cameras, and so there were lots of varieties of installation points inside that enclosure. But it was a real treat to do that. Let's see. This is the message if you saw it from the dolphin tank. Let's see if we can bring that up. Nope, that would be this one.
Yes, I'm in Gulf World. Just got it through installing a camera on top of that giant sign out there. Can't wait to show you guys what it looks like. But we're having a great day. Wish you were here.
And that really was fun. And in fact, they invited me to stay. That was the show going on in the background right there. They invited me to stay for the show. And so I did that, and I decided that I would go ahead and get some close-ups of the camera and then a little bit of the show. So let's do a little bit of the show here. And that's the enclosure, of course, with the camera in it. There we go. Now, one of the things that we realized, and Dave was right in his comment in the chat, that the sun was a big deal. And if you know anything about the PTZ Optics cameras, you know when they power on, if they're set in the auto white balance mode, that they will do a white balance initially. But if you are outside and it's a sunny day and then the sun goes behind the clouds, or if it's a cloudy day and then the sun comes out, or if it's, in this case, they do 2 shows a day, and the camera would get turned on at probably noon and then stay on for the rest of the day for the 6 o'clock show. So the sun is going to be in a different position. So the glare off the water was really, really something to be dealt with, and we played with that quite a bit while I was there. And since then have learned that apparently there's an anti-flicker process that goes on inside the camera, that if you turn that off, that will help a lot with the glare. So we'll get back with them and try to do that. I want to give of course, a big shout out to the folks that were involved in that, to Steve Crow at Crow Signs, who actually erected the sign there, to Watchfire. Those are the folks that designed the video board, and the video from my phone of the video board doesn't do it justice. It was absolutely beautiful in real life. And then of course to the folks at PTZ Optics, that was a PTZ 20X SDI camera that we were just running it over. You saw in the second video that it was all PoE, so we were powering it over Ethernet. We were controlling it over Ethernet, and we were taking the video back to the PC over Ethernet, and bringing it into vMix as a stream input. That is an RTSP address. One thing, or a couple things to note about that. One is that there is some latency in that. There can be anywhere from 300 milliseconds up, depending on the size of the buffer you set for that stream, and depending on your network, you may need to set a bigger buffer, because you may see that you drop some frames at a lower buffer rate. Martin Sinclair was very helpful to helping me understand that as we were putting a PTZ Optics camera in my church, and suddenly it would jerk around a lot. He said just increasing the buffer would help smooth out that, and he was right. The other thing that was interesting, and I wasn't really sure what we were going to do until we got into that situation. But that was that the cable run, the Ethernet cable run from the top of the signboard to the control booth, which was, all the way on the other side of the stadium and then back up in an upper office, was about 400, maybe 380 feet. And the theoretical limit to Ethernet is going to be 321 feet or whatever it is, 100 meters. And so we said, okay, we're going to. I got with Tyler Andrews at POE Texas, because Tyler has all sorts of crazy contraptions that he's building. And one of the things that he's built, and you'll love this, and I wish I had one here, I don't, is a POE extender. POE extender. And the POE extender allows me to have a POE source here, 321 feet of cable, Ethernet, the POE extender plugged into it and not plugged into anything else, and then another 321 feet of Ethernet to the destination. So conceivably 642 feet, if I did my math correctly, from the source of the power to the device. Well, we were going 400 feet, so we knew we were going to be over 321 or 323, whatever it is. Anyway, it's over 300. So first I said, you know what, before we cut wires and have to put new ends on them and plug them into this device, let's find out if it works, if it'll work at 400 feet. Let's see. So we plugged it into the POE switch. No. Hold on, let me get that right. Yes, because the DotWorks case came with the POE. It wasn't a switch. It was basically an injector. So we plugged it into the injector. We plugged it into the network, and we plugged it into 400 feet to the camera, and the camera fired right up. The fans fired right up. The vMix signal came right up. The control of the camera was as immediate as it is 10 feet away, and so we did not put in the extender. And the devil sitting on one shoulder and the angel sitting on the other shoulder, had a big fight. Thank you, Mike. It's 328 feet. There you go. Not 326, not 321, not 323, 328. But in this case, we did 400 and everything worked. And I said, rather than cut the cable, let's see how it does. And I talked with the sign guy there, and he said, if I need to come back and cut a cable, I can do that. I can crimp the ends on it. We do that all the time. So we left the POE extender with him. If they ever have a problem, they'll come back out and put it in. But my thought was, okay, here we are. We are, you can see the Gulf of Mexico from the top of the stadium. And Rich Ignacio can speak to this because he's at saltwater venues frequently, is that salt does take a real bite out of your gear long term, especially electronics. And so we decided that maybe if we didn't put the POE extender in, if everything worked okay without it, we would leave it out because it would be one more point of failure if it were to fail from salt corrosion, essentially, or moisture and salt corrosion. So we'll see. We'll see in the real world if that is a good long-term solution, or if not, they've got somebody that's there locally that can come and put that in pretty quickly. But it was interesting to see that, yes, and I hadn't tested it prior to that, but 400 feet would work in that situation. Again, we'll have to keep monitoring it to see if it works long term. But it was interesting that it did work at that point. So shout outs to Crow Signs, Steve Crow at Crow Signs in Panama City Beach, Florida, to Watchfire, the folks that built the video board, the LED board, and to Dotworks, the company that manufactured the enclosure, and they make enclosures that are heated, they're cooled, they have fan control. In this particular one, they also assured us that it would be sealed from the elements. So we're hoping our PTZ optics camera can make it okay with all that salt air and dolphin spray around it. So that was the story there. Kind of an interesting story. The associated story to that, and I don't want to bore you too much with this, is that I had an opportunity to actually visit the plant where those signboards were made. A company called Watchfire up in Danville, Illinois. And they're one of very few companies in the U.S. that actually manufacture all the components of their sign, starting with the LED light, which they don't manufacture, but they do combine all the lights together, and they build their own boards. It was pretty amazing. I had an opportunity to tour the plant, and we'll be working with them on some projects that involve video boards in sports venues. And so as that comes up, I'll mention that. Rich says that the PoE will eventually fail when the source transformer loses some voltage over time. And that's my concern and my knowledge about everything, is that everything will lose voltage over time, which is one of the reasons when we build our Eastern Shore Broadcasting PCs for folks that want to do streaming and don't want to build it themselves for a variety of reasons. We always use power supplies that are significantly higher rated than what's necessary, because as they age and as their ability to put out the power needed, as that drops, it won't drop below the threshold, at least until the technology becomes too obsolete for it to really matter. But that's the story. So a great trip to Illinois, a great trip to Panama City Beach, Florida, and then back here in the studio. So there you go. That's it for the show. We're going to move on to the pre-show. So if you get questions about any of the things that we did, we'd love to have you join in on that. Whoa, how did we get to that? Whoops. How did we do that? Okay, there we go. Goodness gracious. That's the problem with doing a shortcut, is maybe you messed up another shortcut. Anyway, so if you need to reach us, easternshorebroadcasting.com. There's a contact page there. Always love to hear from you. Thanks so much. We will head off to the post show, and we'll see you there in just a minute. Stick around. Okay, there we go. So yes, I could tell that there was some discussion going on about goats and the like. All right, what is Ed saying? Can we see the footage from the cam you put in over the dolphin tanks? I got so excited about the whole process, Ed. I apologize, as I didn't take any footage of the camera in action. I'm hoping I can get back over there for some reason, or that maybe they can send me some. So all I have, the only footage I have is dolphins doing their thing with a camera sitting up watching them, but with no video there. So my apologies. Voice activation still on. Yeah, Rich, it could have been. Apparently I programmed a shortcut over top of another shortcut, so it wasn't labeled correctly on my X keys. Yeah, meters, kilograms. Okay, I can tell there's a really exciting discussion there. A snail in every pot. Boy, I missed a lot, didn't I? Golly. I'll go back. I've got 9 pages that I can go back through here. I've got the comments, as you can tell right here. I've got the comments from vMix Social, and vMix Social allows me to go back in time to the very first comment that was made. All right, let's see. Michael Graves says, to use that PO extender, do you need POS plus at the source end? According to Tyler Andrews at POE Texas, we don't. It will take whatever was there and it just don't understand the physics of it, but it just re-amplifies it, or whatever the right terminology would be. Wixton, Sweden, AB, they don't stream anything because they want people to come physically in there to watch the show. So the concept was that the PTZ camera, which is connected over Ethernet to a laptop running vMix, with an output going to the LED board controller. That would be the loop. Nothing would be recorded, nothing would be streamed. It would just be displayed there in the venue. Rich says you can use some dielectric grease. That would be a good idea. If I have to go back for any service, we'll definitely do that. Can you eventually provide a clip of the PTZ at work in the Dolphin tank? I'll see if I can pull one up. Yep. All right, Kent, excuse me, at Fiat Ministry Network wants to know, has anyone used 4 vMix calls at the same time? I'm working with someone that wants to make a show that looks like one of the cable news shows. I'm wondering what I should look out for. Bandwidth, and bandwidth. Yeah, that's going to be the thing. I was watching a news show last night, and they had the host and 3 guests, and one of the guests apparently was on not a network connection, some sort of Skype connection or something, and the quality of their image kept fading out and getting all blocky. So happens to the best of them. All right, Ed says to keep up with the show, he goes to YouTube, pops out the chat, pauses the YouTube stream, and then watches the Facebook stream. That's interesting. YouTube stream's better quality. Dave says he's done a test with 8 vMix calls. I have too. Yep. But it's all about bandwidth, Ken. You figure everybody that is a guest is going to be sending video. And if they are sending video from a phone, or from a PC using vmixcall.com, or from a PC using the URL that you send them, all of those will be, I believe, auto-adjusting for bandwidth on an uplink. If they're using vMix on the other end, then they'll be setting their bandwidth, and it won't be auto-adjusting. On your end, you'll have the ability to send them back video, or you will send them back video. I would suggest that you send them back video that is at a lower end of the bandwidth, so that you don't eat up all your uplink. I mean, if you're sending back everybody, 4.5 megabits per second, and there are 4 of them, that's 16, 17, 18 megabits per second that you're using up in your upload bandwidth, which you may not have. I've got 20, but I certainly wouldn't use 18 of it for 4 guests like that. the other thing is that it's something that you've got to test. Not that it's not mature and won't work, but you've got to test it so that you know how it works for you, based on your bandwidth, based on your PC, based on your guests, and as many times as many sample guests that you can get in on a feed like that as possible, the better. Having 4 vMix calls means, essentially you're dealing with 5 people, and assuming you're one of the hosts. He says, is there any way to test it before I upgrade? We have the funds already to do the upgrade, but I would hate for it not to work. We're just recording too. It'll work. The question is, will it work for you? If you're doing it on your laptop, probably not. If you're doing it on your i5, again, there may be some issues. So I'd be happy to chat with you about it, but on your end, it's hardware dependent and bandwidth dependent, and then on your guest's end, it's going to be bandwidth dependent and and their tech savvy dependence. There are people that can't, you say, okay, well, just connect from your phone. Well, they don't know how to enable their phone to use a camera and a browser, for example. So that's the thing. Michael, he could use the demo, except he already has a license on that PC, so you can't use a demo again. Is the pro. Although, Kent, here's something if you haven't already done it. I know that Martin Sinclair, the CEO of vMix, recently decided, with the introduction of vMix 22 and the GT Title Designer, that he wanted people that already had the vMix license to be able to sample the GT Title Designer and see how it worked. And so he flipped a little switch somewhere, don't ask me how or where, to allow existing vMix users to use the trial again, a second time, essentially. So you might, well, no, but if you've already got a license on there, yeah, it'll just pull your license, and it must have been somebody that used a trial and then wanted to use a trial again. That must have been what it was. I'm sorry, I misled you there. Yeah, Michael's right. You can definitely do it on a PC. Even if the PC has had a vMix trial on it before, you can do this second trial. But if it's had a vMix license on it before, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. And I don't think you can, take one of your existing PCs and uninstall vMix and then reinstall it. There's no way it would know not to pick up your license, because your license is installed and is recorded probably in the registry somewhere. It's all about bandwidth and the ability of your PC to handle all that work. Good question, though. Marie and Jan are a couple of Danes living in Sweden. That's right. Well, Michael's got a good suggestion, Kent. There's to create another user on the PC and install the demo there. I've never done that, but that might just work. Yes, indeed. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm thinking. That's why the quiet. I'm thinking. What's coming up? Oh, we've got kind of an interesting camera install coming up here locally. Is we are doing the installing a couple of PTZ Optics cameras in a couple of boardrooms with the idea that the board wants to be able to live stream. It's a public school, excuse me, wants to be able to live stream the board meetings, but doesn't want any of the overhead and having to live stream it. And the PTZ Optics cameras have the ability, you can put in a destination address into the camera, and when the camera is powered up, it'll connect and live stream to that address. So we're going to be putting in a couple of those and then wiring those same cameras into the sound system in those rooms. Going to be really fun. I'll keep you abreast of that one. Carson, who is over on Facebook, says, can you RTMP into a vMix call? RTMP into a vMix call? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you can RTMP into vMix, and you can do a vMix call into vMix, or you could RTMP into vMix this way and have a vMix call coming in this way, but I don't think you can get in the vMix call door with an RTMP. Yep. I am not at Infocon. That is right. Corinder is over on Facebook asking that. Not at Infocom this time. But I think it's going to be a good show. And I think the PTC Optics folks had a live stream from there this morning. They may have one going on right now. I don't know. We can check. Corinder says, no, you can't RTMP. There you go. And Manila says, tell me how to increase vMix call in the HD version. And I'm assuming you mean to 2 vMix calls. Ah, okay. You can't do it in the HD version. You have to upgrade to the next higher version of vMix, which would be the 4K edition. So vMix call, there's 1 vMix call in the HD edition. The 4K edition has 2, and then the Pro edition has 8. Big jump. All right, Corinder says, what do you think about the NAB show, and what was your best show at NAB? I think the NAB show is, it's the granddaddy. It's awesome. It is beautifully done. Very few glitches. Expensive as heck if you are an exhibitor or doing something else like a party there at NAB. But it definitely is the place to go to meet a ton of people in whatever industry you're in within broadcasting. We were on a couple of live streams there. We did a live stream on churches. We did a live stream on schools through Broadcast Beat, and then got an interview with PTZ Optics at the vMix booth. And then, of course, we had the live stream from the Streaming Idiots meetup. The Streaming Idiots meetup obviously was my favorite because you guys were there. Those of you that were there were there, and that really was the best, to be able to meet so many of you in person. There's just something special about meeting somebody in person, especially after, imagine for a second if you finally got to meet Jan and Marie. How cool would that be? Well, that's what it was like at the Streaming Idiots meetup at NAB, is to be able to meet so many other folks that you kind of already knew, in a way. And again, big hat tip to Ken and Rich for the technical directing on the live stream, and to Kenny and Dave for the interviews in the live stream, and to Jim Moline and whoever else was behind that crazy T-shirt and the coffee mug. I wore that shirt. Where was it? Oh, I was at the beach and I wore that shirt. My I need to have a picture of it here somewhere. But my 9-year-old grandson said, "Pop," he calls me Pop. He said, "Pop, you look constipated." It was one of those where I was so out of the mouth of babes. Yep. Tommy says, "Tom, the show where you and Paul streamed your walk around was the best I've seen." That was back in January, Tommy, and that was at the church show, the FX show in Orlando. It was not a large show at all. I thought it was a really small show. You could walk around the whole place in 30 minutes, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun, and Paul doesn't know a stranger, and he always has great questions to ask. Corinder says, "Did you see the Tech Buzz Stephen Haywood?" Yes, Stephen came to the Streaming Idiots meetup. It was good to meet him. Sure did. Ed said he liked the streaming walk around too. Yeah, the streaming walk around at the FX conference was where I first met Tyler Andrews from POE, Texas. And Tyler, as it turns out, is quite a character. In addition to being an engineering genius in POE, he's quite a character. He's at Infocom this week, and he did a little video, or I don't know what it was, this morning on Instagram that it was like he was some sort of rapper music artist. So it was interesting. It was interesting. He's taken the idiot's guide to marketing and written a new chapter. Hey, Jerome's here. How you doing? Good to see you. We missed you out in Las Vegas. Hope you can make it next year. Hope things get better for you. Jerome has been suffering some heart problems, so if you are a prayer warrior, put him on your prayer warrior list. Corinder says, "Tom, do you want to do a demo? Do you want to do a demo show? To do a demo, show people how to put Facebook up and other IRC chat on the screen for people not familiar with it?" Actually, we did a demo of that about 2 months ago, maybe, where we talked about how we do Facebook and YouTube and how we do the embed here for the chat, and how we use vMix Social for part of that. Didn't do an IRC chat and haven't done IRC chat in several years, so probably wouldn't touch that one since I don't know that much about it. Tommy Willis says, I used to watch Stephen Haywood until I was told that his show was for professionals and not beginners. Oh my goodness. Well, Tommy, it's everybody that does a live streaming show about live streaming has to, at some point decide who are they, who are their viewers, who is their community. And it's hard to build a community of beginners because as that community matures, the beginners aren't beginners anymore. They either advance or they fall off. And so that's one of the, what would you call it? One of the, my mind is fading. One of the challenges that I have is trying to keep this show where it's interesting for people that know an awful lot, like a Spiny Norman, but also for folks that are just kind of getting into the business, that they can glean something from it. And, more than anything, frankly, what I want them to glean has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. Because it's the community that really ends up being the way that people get support and get answers long term. They join groups like the Streaming Idiots group, and they ask questions, and hopefully they don't get flamed for asking the same beginner question that got asked last week and the week before and the week before and the week before. But that's one of the things that I really do insist in that Streaming Idiots group is that, you don't flame people for asking beginning questions, newbie questions, because we were all there. And the fact that we're not there anymore kind of means that we have a little bit of a moral obligation to help the next person along. At least that's the way that's the way I figure it. All right, let's see. Ed says, professional means they put $5 bill in your back pocket and push you off the bus. Yeah. In Steven's case, it was kind of interesting because Steven actually works for Telestream, the people that make Wirecast. But he stopped using Wirecast, at least stopped using only Wirecast, and brought in a TriCaster, which I thought that was interesting. And I guess it was some sort of sponsorship involved in that, which is, one of the definitions of a professional type is if somebody else is paying for your gear. I must not be a professional. No surprise there, huh? Oh, my goodness. All right, Corinder, and the reason I read some of these is because if you're on Facebook, you can't see what's on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, you can't see what's on Facebook. So Corinder's over on Facebook, and he says, Tom, I want to know, can vMix use other tools as well, or will it clash? Like, can vMix use Wirecast 2 and BitGravity? Well, BitGravity is a CDN. BitGravity is a streaming service. You can send your live stream to BitGravity and then embed your BitGravity stream on your website. So BitGravity is kind of like a paid YouTube. Wirecast is a similar product to vMix. And when I first started out, I used something called VidBlaster. And then I found out about Wirecast because back then Wirecast was just knocking the ball out of the park in terms of its encoding abilities. So I would use VidBlaster for the switching and recording, and then use Wirecast for streaming because it was so efficient at streaming. Then vMix came on the scene, and I started using VidBlaster for the switching, and then vMix for the streaming and recording, and then switched over to vMix entirely. So you can use them together, strengths and weaknesses. If you have a Wirecast license and a vMix license and you have two different PCs, you could use them both at the same time. I know a lot of folks the local school system across the bay from me has an OB van, and in the OB van they've got, 4 or 5 computer systems, and 3 or 4 of them are running vMix, one for graphics, one for instant replay, one for, something else and something else. And so, you can kind of chop your production into the piece parts, use Wirecast for a piece of it and vMix for a piece of it. Sure. Good question. NWBC, that's Dave, says, Tom always finds your show educational. Well, that speaks more to your ignorance than to my brilliance. I'm teasing. Oh, here, Jan has got the comment of the day. The more I learn about professional streamers, the less impressed I am. Oh, boy. And it was I think it happened with live streaming, but I know it happened with podcasting, is that somebody would get into podcasting for a couple months, and then they would set themselves up as a podcasting guru and a podcasting consultant. And so all the newbies coming in, they didn't know that this person's only been doing it for 6 months. And everything they said it with a commanding, voice that this is the way it is. And so people would believe it and they buy it, and they buy the guy's Amazon affiliate links to Blue Yeti microphones and all that other stuff. And I had some friends that were very critical of that. I didn't know enough at that point to go one way or the other. But as I started this show, that was one of the reasons why I kind of honed in on the whole idiot concept, is that I may know something. In fact, for some of you, I may know a lot. But I am always impressed by how much I don't know, or how or within one subject, how my knowledge in that subject is very, very shallow, but the subject is is very, very deep. And so I don't want to propose to be a know-it-all in that sense. But what I do know, I think 80% of what I know is good, is true and accurate. Corinder says, is VidBlaster still around? Yes, they've gone to a licensing model. I think now you can license it for $9 a month. Jan says, not difficult to stream if you just throw money at the problem. Well, I don't agree with that. I think there are a lot of people that have thrown money at the problem and then gave up. Ed says he'll stream until he die. Apologize in advance that he will not be taking questions after the funeral. Oh, that's funny. Corinder says, have you ever tried StreamYard? Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Ron said you can bring a second caller in on a second machine, then bring it into as an input via NDI. Yeah, you got to be careful with that. Having played with a lot of that myself, the video part is the easy part. It's the audio part, the routing of the audio that becomes problematic. So that you're making sure that each caller has a mix minus that's crafted just for them. That is, they hear everything else. They hear all the other guests, they hear the bumper music, they hear the host, but they don't get themselves back. Because if they do, it's going to be delayed by half a second or so, and it'll drive them absolutely crazy. And you want to make sure that that each person only gets one of, if you've got 3 guests, you want to get guest number one's audio one time. You don't want to get it on echo. So you definitely want to test it. You definitely want to test it. Don Ware slept at Holiday Inn Express last night. Tommy Willis says, I'm an inspiration. He loves me. And yes, Tommy. And obviously the men in the white suits have let you loose for the show today. They took you out of your straitjacket. Oh, man. You and I have got to meet in person one day. We really do. I just need to drive up to Tallahassee and take you to lunch. I do. Yep, live streaming continues to unfold. There are new products, there are new concepts, new technologies. There is a certain, well, I probably shouldn't say that. Doggone it. I hate knowing things that I can't say. It's like if I knew that a company was coming out with a major improvement to a service or to a product that would be really exciting, maybe a game changer, I don't know. I would sure like to talk about that. But I am obligated not to. It's one of those things where, you get into something like this and, all right, Tommy's got to go take his meds. You get into something like this and you say, boy, I wish I knew more about this, and I wish I knew things before they happened. I wish I was in the know. And not that I'm in the know by any means, but occasionally I trip over a little morsel every now and then. And when I do, it's like, oh wow, I know that, but I can't tell anybody. Oh, crap. Gee whiz. I've been sworn to secrecy. Nothing in writing, but, my word is my bond. So there we go. Yep. Well, dudes, I've enjoyed, and Marie, of course, I've enjoyed hanging out with you this afternoon, this evening, this morning, if you're watching in Kiwi land. And I got to go back to work. I got some things I got to square away, shall we say. But I appreciate you. You honor me with your presence. You really do. And you tolerate me. That's so nice. So if you're watching after the fact, if you're watching the archive and you've gotten to this part, you've gone through however long it's been, thank you. Come subscribe to us on YouTube. Join our Facebook group. You know, follow us on Instagram and Twitter and all that other kind of stuff. And that way you'll kind of get an idea of, you know, when things are happening, and we can kind of loop you in and help you discover the rest of the community. That's the idea. And we really want to grow this whole live stream thing, just grow it, you know, and make it better and make it more accessible for more people. Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. You know, I was talking with Alan Bunt, little quick story. Alan Bunt's at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church up in Wisconsin, Rapids, Wisconsin. I think it's Rapids, not Springs. I always get those two confused. Anyway, so Al just bought a whole shebang from us, and he and I have been talking about it for some time, and so he's transitioning. He's transitioning now from standard definition cameras to high definition cameras. And when a lot of us have, you know, did that years ago, you know, Al he stuck with it. He was able to basically leverage this old technology into new capability for his church. So he was able to get some Sony's, I forget what the little Sony, is it like a PD-70 or something like that? The standard definition PTZ cameras. He was able to get a bunch of those because he was buying them, you know, as refurbs or seconds or used or whatever they were, and so he was able to increase his church's capabilities, but it was just standard definition. And you know, up until just recently, he was using VidBlaster, which, you know, had gone to a subscription model, you know, 2 or 3 years ago. He was still using the old licensed version, and had figured it out and knew how to make it sing. I mean, Al is one of those guys that you know, you give him some technology and he'll figure out everything there is about it and master it and do things with it that nobody ever thought was possible, which is going to be really fun now that he's got a hold of vMix. He's got a hold of a PC that we built for him. He's got a hold of X keys. He's got 4 PTZ optics cameras. And he's he doesn't want to let go of his standard definition cameras. So he wants to loop those into the mix and end up with, you know, 6 or 8 cameras. We'll get Al on the show sometime soon. When he gets his current, his new toys installed and working, we'll bring him in and let him talk about it. It'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, so appreciate you guys. It was great having you. I'm going to sign off now and let the show run out a little bit so it doesn't cut you right off. But if you have any questions or if you need me, you know how to reach me. And I will see you next week with another underwhelming show. Set your expectations really low. That's what I say. Bye, guys.